Guys, this is the syllabus for DSSSB Assistant Law Officer and Legal Assistant exam. And we all know that the exam will be conducted in two phases, Tier 1 and Tier 2. In Tier 1, section A, there will be questions from journal awareness, general intelligence and reasoning ability, arithmetical and numerical ability, Hindi language and comprehension, English language and comprehension, and they have provided the detailed syllabus, the areas that you have to cover in each individual topic. Out of these 5 topics, the areas that you need to cover from these 5 topics, they have provided that for section A. Now coming to section B for both tier 1 and tier 2 examination. So part 2 will be of your law, and law may you have to study legal methods, that is introduction to legal methods, source of law, basic concept of Indian legal system and legal writing and research. Second, you have to read law of contract. In law of contract, they have mentioned what acts and the specific areas that you need to cover. So unit 1 is formation of contract, consideration, capacity, validity, discharge and performance of contract, remedies and quasi contract, indemnity, guarantee and agency, Indian Partnership Act, Sales of Goods Act, Negotiable Instrument Act. So all of these will be covered in law of contract. So you have to read contract, the partnerships, SOGA and NI Act. Now coming to legal English and communication skills, for that you have to prepare comprehension and composition, language communication and law, and legal communication. Now this is the syllabus for both tier 1 section B and part 1 and part 2 of tier 2. So you have to prepare history, sociology and all these syllabus for tier 2 exam, right? So in history you have to cover the history and law, ancient India, medieval India, concept of justice and judicial institution in ancient and medieval India, early developments from 1600 till 1836, evolution of law and legal institution, constitutional developments and framing of Indian constitution, modern and contemporary India. From sociology you have to cover introduction, basic concept, social change, social control, kinship, family and marriage, religion, social stratification, marginalized groups and deviants. From tort, you have to read the introduction and principal liability in torts, specific torts 1, specific torts 2, and the Consumer Protection Act 1986. Basically, you have to study the whole of the tort and the CPA. But जो हमने BA LLB में पढ़ा है, उतना ही syllabus आपको उतना ही basic you have to prepare. Right? From political science, it will be a political theory, ideologies, machinery of the government, sovereignty and citizenship, types of government, key concept in international relations, United Nations and international relations, critical global concern. So this is the syllabus. If you have I don't know how LLB scheme works, but if you are a student of integrated law, then BA LLB में सिलेबस मोर और लेस यही रहता है आपका. BA का सिलेबस पॉलिटिकल साइंस की बात करें, सोशियोलॉजी की बात करें, हिस्ट्री की बात करें तो okay. Now family law, you have to cover Hindu marriage and dissolution, Muslim marriage and dissolution, adoption, maintenance of guardianship, civil marriage and emerging trends in family law. So you have to cover Hindu law and Muslim law, marriage, dissolution in both the Hindu and Muslim law, adoption, maintenance of guardianship both Hindu and Muslim law, civil marriage and emerging trends in family law. From constitutional law, you have to cover constitution, constitutional organs, distribution of power between center and state, other provisions, fundamental right 1, fundamental right 2, right to constitutional remedies, directive principles and fundamental duties. From crime, law of crime, you have to cover the substantive criminal law, general exceptions in IPC from section 76 to 106, incoherent forms of crime, punishment, offences against women, offences against property. So these are the chapters that you need to cover: the punishment, offence against women and offence against property. Coming to economics, introduction to economics, demand, supply, production, analysis and cost, market structure, theory of determination of factor prices, theory of money, banking and financial institution. Keep in mind that you have to understand the basic only. सिर्फ आपको इनका एक इंट्रोडक्शन, जनरल इंट्रोडक्शन ले लेना है कि कॉन्सेप्ट होते क्या हैं, ठीक है. In administrative law, you have to study evolution and scope of administrative law, legislative functions of administration, judicial function of administration, administrative discretion and judicial control of administrative action. Then we have environmental law as well. From environmental studies and environmental law, you have to read the environmental protection, international and national perspective, the constitutional guidelines, environmental laws in India and international, then prevention and control of water, air, noise and land pollution, Then you have to go through the Forest and Wildlife Environment Protection Act, laws related to Forest Wildlife Protection Act 1972, International Environment Law and Current Trends, Introduction to International Environment Law, National Green Tribunal. From Law of Evidence, you have to cover Introduction and Relevancy, Statement, Admission, Confession and Dying Declaration, Method of Proof of Facts, Emerging Areas in the Law of Evidence. From corporate law, you have to cover incorporation and formation of company, corporate financing, corporate governance, corporate social responsibility, and corporate liquidation. From CPC, you have to cover introduction, initial steps in a suit, interim orders, appeal, reference, review, and revision. Then you have to read ADR as well, the concept of ADR, negotiation and mediation, arbitration and conciliation, international perspective. From jurisprudence, read introduction, school of jurisprudence, legal concept, theories and concept of justice. From international law, introduction, source of international law, recognition, extradition, and the law of the sea. From property law, you have to study concept of property, general principles relating to transfer of property, general principle governing transfer of immovable property, specific transfers 1, specific transfer 2. From investment and competition law, you have to cover investment and security laws, bank and securities, foreign investment laws, the competition laws in India. Then we come to CRPC, where you have to study the introduction, the arrest, bail and pre-trial proceeding, trial proceeding, miscellaneous. Also tax laws, the basic concepts, residential status, chargeability, heads of income and rules of tax, residual income and procedure for assessment. Then we come to emerging technology, that is the IT Act, the notion of technology, e-commerce, cybercrime, genetic and medical technologies, human right laws, introduction, international human right law, national human right law and group rights. Banking and insurance law, you have to cover banking system in India, lending, security and recovery by banks, banking fraud, insurance law, telecommunication laws. I don't know for what exam they are giving such a wide syllabus. Anyways, telecommunication laws, introduction, international bodies, reforms in telecommunication issue and challenge, women in law, introduction, constitution of India and women, personal laws and women, criminal laws and women, women welfare laws, criminology, introduction, nature of crime, punishment, juvenile justice, labor law 2, the minimum wages act, payment of wages act, factories act, employee compensation act 1923. Then we have ITL, that is International Trade Law, introduction of ITL, development of international trade, GATT and WTO agreements, contemporary issues. This is more like UGC net syllabus. International commercial law, international sales contract, carriage of goods, international payment, settlement of international commercial dispute, indirect taxes, central excise, custom, VAT and GST. Legal ethics and court craft, Supreme Court rules and Delhi High Court rules, the Limitation Act, the Registration Act, bench bar relation, legal ethics. Then you have to cover drafting, pleading and conveyancing, the fundamental rules of pleading, civil pleadings, general principle of criminal pleading, conveyancing, socio-economic offences, hoarding and profiteering, adulteration, corruption, investigation and prosecution, law of international organization, introduction, legal personality, relation with states, lawmaking and enforcement. And the last topic is the legal framework of user department. So these are the departments for which you are going to appear. So you have to study the basic of these departments as well. So you have to cover the Delhi Water Board Act, Delhi GST Act, Delhi Value Added Tax Act, Delhi Fire Service Act, Education Act, Right to Education Act, Motor Vehicle Act, Environment Protection Act, Delhi Urban Shelter Improvement Board Act, Delhi Municipal Corporation Act, New Delhi Municipal Council Act, Government of NCT of Delhi Act, Delhi Electricity Reforms Act. So this was the syllabus. Let's quickly see one again if I am reading the correct syllabus, because this is more like a syllabus for a 5-year course. So this is syllabus for tier 1 and tier 2 of combined examination for the post of legal assistant law officer only. Alas, we have to cover all these things, and I will I'll give the link for this notification, where you can go and check the notification and download the PDF of it. And so far this is the news, and if you have any other question regarding this, please feel free to ask, and give it a nice good thought. I guess those of you who are preparing for UGC net will find it not easy, but then yeah, approachable. But if you are a fresh law graduate, and if you have just started your preparation, covering these topics will be a chaos. I would rather suggest you to concentrate on MP, judiciary, or Uttarakhand judiciary, if you are a judicial service aspirant, or wait for the AP notification, which will sooner or later will come. This is the news that UP APO is coming. I'm not sure about it, but this is the news. So better wait for that rather than indulging yourself in such a wide, chaotic ocean. But at the end of the day, if it's your call, and if you have any other question regarding this, please feel free to ask, and I'll drop the link for this PDF, the notification, in the description box. You can check out the updated syllabus from that link. Okay, thank you for watching, and all the best.